What's up YouTube, it's your boy Nash here. Welcome back to the channel. Now before we get started with today's video, the road to 200 subs has now come to a close and we are now under 230 subs away from hitting 500 subs. Yes, you heard me right, under 230. And who knows, maybe we might hit 500 subs by the end of the year. Only time will tell, but as I have said in previous videos, if this channel does get to 500 subs, I will open up this Korean LOB booster box in its entirety on the channel that I got from my partners over at Collector Store, so be sure to check them out. Link and address will be in the description below. By checking them out, not only does it support them, it also supports the channel, and I would greatly appreciate it. On the hopes to potentially pull, excuse me, a Blue Eyes White Dragon, a Dark Magician, a Red Eyes Black Dragon, a piece of Exodia, Monster Reborn, Pot of Greed. The possibilities are out there. However, if this channel gets to 1,000 subs, I will open up this first edition Toon Chaos box in its entirety on the channel that I also got from my partners over at Collector Store, on the hopes to potentially pull a collector's rare out of this set. But with that being said, if you guys want to see these boxes get opened, maybe you guys want more episodes of WWE's Biggest Issue, maybe you guys want more episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh's Biggest Issue, deck profiles, card discussions, WWE topic videos, or maybe, just maybe, you guys want some premium live event predictions and results. Well, if you guys want all of that and more, my channel is the place to be. So if you guys are new to the channel, and I know that a lot of you guys are, because more than 80% of you guys are watching the content, but you guys are not even subscribed, and to top it all off, we gotta get more women to watch the content as well. So, if you guys are watching the content, you like the content, and you want more of the content, but you guys have not subscribed as of yet, then make sure you guys do indeed subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, smash that thumbs up button on this video, and as always, make sure you guys are following me on all of my social media. All my ads will be in the description below, as will the info to my fan mail. It will also be in the description as well. And I want you guys to post in the comments below answering the question of the day, which is this: what would you consider to be the best? Let me rephrase that. What is your favorite deck to play on Master Duel? Let me know down in the comments below. And for today's video, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. Now, it has been quite some time since I've done a deck profile, but I've never done a Master Duel deck profile. So for today's video, I am actually going to be doing a deck profile of my Yubel deck. Now, this is actually based off of the what was it, the World Championship that we had not that long ago. And it's crazy. It's crazy because when you look at the Yubel deck in actual Yu-Gi-Oh, it just completely dominated the meta, and it's dominated quite a bit on Master Duel. In fact, this deck minus a few cards, I've done somewhat okay in the X0 festival. So the deck is actually pretty solid, and not only that, you've got so many ways that you can just out your opponent with this deck. It is absolutely incredible. So I am not going to waste any time. I'm going to get straight into it. Kicking things off, we actually have 3 copies of Samsara D Lotus. Now, obviously, this card is basically your combo starter, if you will. Basically, what this does is on summon or whenever it's on the field, you can basically tag it out for pretty much any Yubel monster from your deck, which mainly you're gonna be going after Spirit of Yubel, which can help you get into which can help get into your what you call it, your Nightmare Pain, or pretty much like any other card that has Yubel in its name, which is absolutely insane. And not only that, if you also have the original Yubel on board, this card basically acts as the original Samsara Lotus, where you can bring it back during the end phase and then tribute it off for Yubel's effect, which is just absolutely amazing. Plus, it's also good fodder for your Link plays as well, which is pretty incredible. Next up, we got 2 copies of Gruesome Grave Squirmer. This card is just basically a way to try and get more damage on board. So what's the idea, right? What is the idea? Well, if your board consists of at least one Phantom of Yubel, a Yubel, the Loving Defender Forever, plus 2 copy plus like maybe 1 copy of Spirit of Yubel. If you have those 3 on board, plus this card, Gruesome Grave Scorer on board, the idea is to attack with all three Yubels, deal damage to your opponent, and if you're shy of lethal, you can activate Squirmer's effect to special summon itself from your hand, pop Spirit of Yubel. Spirit of Yubel's effect activates, you summon Yubel, and you basically have lethal on board, which is just absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Now the only reason why I chose to run 2 copies instead of 3 is because I feel like running 3 is a brick, mainly because of the fact that you've got so many ways to take all the Yubel cards and put them back into your deck. There are like so many ways with this deck, and I feel like running 3 is a break in my honest opinion. Then of course, also to round up the Yubel monster package anyway, we have a single copy of Yubel, the original. We have as well a single copy of Yubel Terror Incarnate, which this card basically just breaks the whole board. It literally just breaks both your board and your opponent's. So this card basically stays on the field because of it. But I feel like, in my opinion, in my honest opinion, I feel like Yubel the Ultimate Nightmare is a bit better, and the reason why I believe that is because this card can pop any monster on board and deals them a fuck ton of damage at the end of the damage step, which is just absolutely insane. At least in my opinion, anyway. And then of course we've got 3 copies of Spirit of Yubel. This card is just absolutely nuts. Obviously, this card can help you get get cards like Nightmare Pain, Mature Chronicle, or even also Eternal Favorite, which is pretty cool. And also this also acts as a Cyber Dragon. So if your opponent were to declare an attack, you can bring this out, and if you have Nightmare Pain on board, your opponent has no choice but to attack Spirit of Yubel, and they get dealt damage, which is absolutely insane. Now we move into the Sacred Beast portion of the deck. So first up, we've got 2 copies of Dark Beckoning Beast, which this card is just absolutely insane. This card is basically a combo starter to try and get out a Sacred Beast. But the funny thing is that this card basically acts as a double summon. So what is the idea? So what is the idea? Well, the idea is especially if you have opening of the spirit gates, the idea is to activate gates, add dark beckoning beast to your hand, normal summon dark beckoning, use its effect to search out, I'll say just as a random example, we'll say Dark Summoning Beast as a random example. We'll say that. Add Dark Summoning Beast to your hand, and if you have some sort of D Lotus in hand, you can use Dark Beckoning's second normal summon effect to normal summon Lotus, tribute it off to summon Spirit of Yubel, and then of course Spirit's effect activates. You can add Nightmare Pain, set it to your back row, flip it up, and then activate Gate's effect to pitch Dark Summoning Beast to resummon the Samsara D Lotus, and then go into a link play, which ideally you want to go into cards like the Dark Charmer Gloomy, or potentially into a Nightmare Phoenix to try and pop one of your opponent's cards. And then of course too, Dark Summoning Beast effect would trigger, you banish it from your grave, you get a Sacred Beast to your hand, and you're pretty much just off to the races from there. That's pretty much like the idea with Dark Beckoning Beast. Just as sort of like an extender, I guess, if you will, which is pretty cool. Speaking of extenders, next up we have a single copy of Chaos Summoning Beast, which basically helps you summon out one of the Sacred Beasts a lot easier just by attributing itself. Not much else to say about that. Then of course, 2 copies of Dark Summoning Beast. This card is basically just a way to. This card is only in here to search out a Sacred Beast and to use chaos summoning as a way to get out your Sacred Beast. So that's pretty much the only reason why this card is in here. But also it's used as I can't speak. Discard fodder for opening of the Spirit Gates, which is pretty cool. And speaking of Sacred Beasts, we actually have one of them in this deck. You guessed it, Haman, Lord of Striking Thunder. Basically, this card can deal so much damage in a single battle phase. And excuse me. Not only that, but think about this. If you have Haman on board plus Cerulean Skyfire can literally negate counter traps. I know that a lot of people might think it's not true, but it is. It can actually negate counter traps, which is pretty crazy. And then we move into two copies of Barrier Statue of the Abyss, which if you have this card on board, you know damn well it's over. It's just over. If your opponent is playing is playing a different attributed deck, and you open with Barrier Statue of the Abyss, it's over. It's basically GG's. Your opponent can't do jack shit unless if they have a way have a way to pop it. There's no way for them to win. But now we move into our hand traps, and we got quite a few. So first up, we got 2 copies of Droll and Lockbird, obviously to ensure that the opponent doesn't get any any of their plays off whatsoever. We got 2 copies of the obvious Ash Blossom, basically just to stop the opponent from performing their plays or anything like that. 2 copies of Ghost Spell, pretty much the same thing. Anything graveyard reliant, this card could just stop it dead in its tracks. And then last but not least, it's Master Duel, so that can only mean one thing. Yep, you see it, Max C. Max C, funny enough, is legal in Master Duel. I never would have imagined it, but it is indeed true. And honestly, the monster lineup is absolutely stacked. Like the monster lineup in the main deck is just absolutely insane. But now we move into the spells. So first up, excuse me, a single copy of Raigeki. I know that it is semi-limited at 2, but unfortunately I wasn't able to pull a second one. But this card is basically just breaks the board really easily. Not much else to say about that. We have a single copy of Harpy's Feather Duster for the same reason, to ensure that the opponent doesn't get any of their plays. They basically just lose their back row if they do have some way to interact with your board. Then Duster can basically just stop can just wipe it clean. Not much else to say about that. Then of course we got 3 copies of Nightmare Throne. This card is absolutely stacked. This card basically on activation, you basically get to take any fiends with 0 attack and defense from your deck, and you can either add it to your hand or you can destroy it. Obviously you're going to be adding the card to your hand, and ideally the card that you'll be adding, depending on what your opening hand is obviously going to be none other than Dark Beckoning Beast. Next up, also too, Nightmare Throne has an additional effect, which says once per turn, if the face of Yubel you control leaves the field by card effect, you can add to your hand 1 Yubel monster from your deck, grave, or banishment whose original level is 1 higher or lower than one of those monsters. Then you can special summon it, ignoring its summoning condition. So basically, this acts as sort of like a really weird Monster Reborn, I guess, if you will, which is pretty cool. Then of course we got Cerulean Skyfire, obviously to pretty much just to negate anything that your opponent may have. Which I believe it's any spell or trap. Yeah, so any spell or trap that your opponent has that might ruin your plays. This card can basically just stop it dead in its tracks simply by switching Haman to defense. Then of course we got 2 copies of Opening of the Spirit Gates. This card is just absolutely insane. Not only can it add any card with the Sacred Beasts in their name, but you can also has 2 other effects. One of them is obviously discard a card and just reborn pretty much any monster, like any fiend with 0 attack and defense from your grave. And if you have a level 10 monster on board, you can add any continuous spell from your grave to your hand, which is absolutely insane. And considering the fact that this deck has 1, 3, 4, 5, 6 continuous spells, there's quite a few that you can try and choose from. Next up, we have 2 copies of Nightmare Pain. This card is actually kind of crazy because this card, you basically get to destroy any dark monster in your hand or field, and you can add a Yubel card from your deck to your hand. Obviously, except another copy of itself, but it also has an effect where all of your opponent's monsters must attack Yubel. Like anything Yubel that's on your board, your opponent must attack them if able. And not only that, your opponent takes damage instead of you. So this card essentially is like a floodgate, I guess, if you will, which is pretty cool. Then of course we got a single copy of Mature Chronicle. This is only in here as sort of like I wouldn't say a last resort deal, but what's cool about this is that there are so many things that you can do with this card, depending on how many counters this card has. So you can literally either treat it as a monster reborn. You can add pretty much any of your banished cards to your hand. You can banish a card from your deck. You can destroy any card on the field, or you could add Super Poly from your deck to your hand. However, unfortunately, this deck does not run Super Poly, unfortunately, but it's still a pretty crazy card. Then of course, to round up the spells, we have 2 copies of Called by the Grave. I'm surprised that this card on Master Duel is at 2, but in the TCG I think it's at like 1 right now, if my memory serves. So it's pretty crazy. But now to round up the entire deck, I am running 2 copies of Titanicider, which essentially acts as a secondary version of Infinite Impermanence, but it has a pretty cool party trick of its own. So it does have 2 separate effects. The first one reads target a face-up monster your opponent controls that will special summon from the extra, change its attack to 0, and if you do, negate its effects. If your opponent special summons a monster from the extra deck while this card is in your grave, except the turn this card was sent to the grave, you can set this card. You literally don't need 3 copies in the deck. You only need 2, because you could just put them back into your back row constantly, and you have ways to just negate everything, which is insane. Then to round up the entire main deck, we have a single copy of Eternal Favorite, which kind of acts as Super Poly, which is pretty cool. It can help you summon out Yubel, the Loving Defender, forever, which is just really cool. But now we move into the extra deck, and I mean the extra deck is just pretty standard at this point, which is pretty cool. But this is pretty much like the basic standard at this point. So we have 2 copies of Phantom of Yubel, which basically has built-in negation in a way, but it turns your opponent's effects into your opponent destroys a Yubel monster in their hand, deck, or field, which can obviously help further your plays, which is pretty cool. We have 2 copies of Yubel, the Loving Defender Forever, which not only can this card deal 500 damage to your opponent for each material used for this card's summon, but it also has has two other effects that read cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. Also, you take no battle damage from battles involving this card. At the end of the damage step, if this card battled an opponent's monster, inflict damage to your opponent equal to that opponent's monster's attack, and if you do, banish that monster. This is basically Yubel the Ultimate Nightmare on steroids. Literally, that's what it is. So that's pretty cool. We have a single copy of Nightmare Phoenix, obviously for more back row removal. IP, a single copy of IP Masquerena, mainly just to further your link plays, which is pretty cool. Dark the Dark Charmer Gloomy, mainly just to get darks out from your opponent's graveyard to help go into more of your link plays. In fact, funny enough, if your opponent has an IP Masquerena of their own, you can literally use Dark's effect to bring out their IP Masquerena, and you can use those two to go into a potential Link 3 or a Link 4, which is pretty crazy. We have two copies of Muckcracker from the Underworld. This basically acts as a Monster Reborn to pretty much summon any fiends from your graveyard, which is absolutely insane. However, the only downside is that it can't be used as link material the turn it's link summon. So that is a bit unfortunate. But as long as you're able to protect this card for an entire turn, you can literally use her as link material during the next turn, which is absolutely amazing. We have a single copy of SP Little Knight, mainly to stop your opponent from pulling off their link plays, which is pretty crazy. We have a single copy of Nightmare Unicorn, obviously to pretty much just to bounce cards to their deck, which is pretty crazy. And then of course I brought this card in because it reminded me of Simo with his Master Duel Masochist series. Shoutouts to him, but I decided to bring in Rod 10, the Heavenly General. Obviously, this card is absolutely amazing. Not only can it pop monsters on the opponent's board, but it can also pop back row as well, and it also allows you to pretty much just summon another monster that this card points to from I think from your hand, I believe, which is from your hand, which is pretty cool. And then to round out the extra deck, we got Appaloosa, Bow of the Goddess, obviously for Infinite Negates, Unchained Abomination to pop things, and then Underworld Goddess of the Closed World, mainly to stop the opponent from pulling off any of their other plays, which is pretty cool. But that's pretty much it for the deck. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I'm telling you, this deck is absolutely crazy. I would show off how the deck works, but unfortunately I don't have the right setup to pull it off. But it's all good. Obviously you guys can build this deck and see for yourself on Master Duel. But with that being said, that will do it for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button. If you guys are new to the channel and you guys want more Master Duel deck profiles in the future, then make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and as always, make sure you guys are following me on all of my social media. All of my ads will be in the description below, as will the info to my fan mail. It will also be in the description as well. And on that, this is your boy Nash, signing out.